Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm returning to you late this morning, going into early afternoon for a decent to good albums of 2022 so far, part 1 video that I did schedule for doing today. Um, Setting a date to do it, I mean to say. So, yeah, this is for the decent to good albums of 2022 so far, part 1. I might have to split it up into sections just so I can get all 22 of these albums or EPs out of the way for the next list, which is the best albums. So I'm gonna discuss from 1 to 22 what I'm gonna talk about for this list and let you know my thoughts on the decent to good albums of 2022 so far, part 1 video or section 1 video. So let's dive into this video. Now at number 1 is Years and Years with Night Call. I think this album's decent. It's got some potential. Like the title track, Night Call, is not bad. Intimacy is pretty solid. It's not my personal favorite song at all, but it's something. Sweet Talker, it's ripping off some kind of melody from that If You Give Me a Chance song or whatever from a certain DJ artist. Can't remember who. I ranted on it a few months ago on my review, in the track review of that song, and I kind of mentioned what it was ripping off the melody for, but I didn't like that song, so yeah. I did enjoy 20 minutes. That actually didn't sound so bad. There's some cringy lyrics in it, but other than that, it wasn't bad with the chorus and how the lead singer was sounding in the band. They're a pop band, so yeah, if you're not known, if you don't know who Years and Years is, you'll have to go check them out. They're a pop band, so kind of a pop electronic band, I guess you could say. But Years and Years didn't do bad on their new album, Night Call. I heard all 23 tracks on the album, and the extra songs on there after the 16 tracks is just like a New Year's Day edition for it. So it's redoing the classics on the album, putting on the classic songs on there. So yeah, number 1 I picked Years and Years with Night Call. I didn't hate the album, I just found it to be decent. So at number 2 is As It Is with I Went to Hell and Back. Now I might have a bit to talk about this album. Um, I think it's called I Don't Give a Fuck is the first song, and I really enjoyed that song. That was such a good song. I Lie to Me was pretty solid. Not my personal favorite, but it's something at least. And the song I Love You, How Are You was a pretty uh decent song. Not It's kind of underwhelming with some of the auto-tune and electronic stuff in it. The electronic vocals in it, with the doom 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 thing or whatever, with the rain is pouring lyric and all that. So yeah, I don't care. I Can't Take It is my favorite song. It's grown to be my favorite song now. Um, and I'd Rather Die is the next song, and that was actually pretty solid. I think I gave this a good rating, surprisingly, because I was surprised with this album. I thought this album was gonna suck, but it actually surprised me. And I was like, okay, As It Is, you kind of surprised me with this one. So I was blown away with how good it was. It wasn't the best thing, but it was good. Um, Miss 2003 was actually a pretty strong track. Not a great song in any way, but it's a strong track for what it's going for. There is a lot of trap beats in it that I don't know if I can get behind, but other than that, the song itself was pretty strong. Um, there's another song. Sick and Tired, I'm Sick and Tired was actually a pretty strong track. And then my favorite song, I Want to See God, is my personal favorite song, even though it's a pretty short song, which I'm a little disappointed that it's short, but very effective for what it went for. Uh, so yeah, 5 out of 5 for that one. I remember reviewing this album like a few months ago, and you can definitely go check this album out if you haven't listened to it yet. Got a few more tracks to mention. I Hate Me Too was pretty solid of a track. I'm Gone was pretty solid. I Die 1,000 Times was actually a personal favorite now. It's grown to be a liking to me, even though there's some production work in it that could be tweaked a bit more. I think it's a pretty solid song. Um, I Can't Feel a Thing was pretty strong. There was that one, the one with Cody Carson in it from Set It Off and Jordy Perp. I can't remember that song name, but it has starts with an I, of course, because the album always starts with an I. Um, Even though the lingo with the I's are kind of bothersome, I think it works with what the album is trying to go for. I Went to Hell and Back was a pretty interesting closer. It was pretty mellow, but it was very effective. So, at number two, I picked As It Is with I Went to Hell and Back. I guess I had a little bit more to talk about with this album. I kind of thought it was a good album. I owned the CD, of course, and I'm glad I own the CD because it's actually a pretty good album. Not the best album, but it's a good album. It's going to be on this list by the end of the year. So at number three, we have Saxon with Carpe Diem. Now, I didn't really return to this album after I listened to it one time, and I found it to be quite underwhelming, in my opinion. I think it's a decent listen. It's just the lead singer's voice kind of doesn't suit well with me. And that's what really drags the album down a bit. And some of the production work is okay, but and the guitar work and drum work is pretty strong, but it's just the lead singer's vocals and some mixing problems with the album that I have a tad bit of a problem with in this Saxon Carpe Diem album. It's a thrash metal band, I guess you could say, or hard rock band or whatever. They're a classic rock band. They've been around since the 80s, but yeah, for what they went for, I think they did a decent job. Not the best thing I've heard, but it's decent. So you can definitely go check out my review for Saxon Carpe Diem. I did it, I think the week after uh, February 4th. So at number three, I picked Saxon with Carpe Diem. Alright, at number four is Mary J. Blige with Good Morning Gorgeous. Now, I found the song Amazing with DJ Khaled to be a bad song, in my opinion. It's disappointing, unfortunately. I like Mary J. Blige's vocals. Like Love Will Never was actually a pretty good song on this album, and the title track's pretty solid. Um, so is the interlude to it. Even though the interludes don't count, I still consider them to be songs part of the album, I guess you could say, in my opinion at least. But yeah, Mary J. Blige did an average job on her album. Uh, We Need Love, I think, was a pretty solid song to close the album out. Pretty strong song, I think. It had Usher in it, so you know it's going to be something interesting. So, yeah, Mary J. Blige did an average job on her album, in my opinion, but I wouldn't say it's the best thing because Amazing kind of did bring the album rating down quite a bit. And it would have gotten a better rating if that song wasn't on the album because I do not like DJ Khaled. I think he's a fucking idiot and a hack, and is he doesn't do shit. He just yells and says, "We the best music." I'm like, you the dumbest fucker. But that's just my opinion at least. But yep, at number 4 I picked Mary J. Blige with Good Morning Gorgeous. I personally think the Amazing song is my least favorite on the album. It's probably the worst song on the album, but I don't think I got much more to discuss about it because I can't remember all the songs that I listened to for that album. At number 5 is Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators 4. The album 4, I mean to say. Um, this was actually not too bad. This was good. Um, Actions Speak Much Louder Than Words is probably my favorite song on there. And Miles Kennedy's vocal pitches were actually pretty strong. He actually was singing in the first song. I noticed that his voice was a little off, and there was a reason behind it, but I couldn't tell because it did sound good. But he was struggling with COVID, and I'm really sorry that you went through that, man, because COVID's pretty fucking serious. Um, he was battling COVID-19 and while doing this song, but yeah, it sucks that he had to go through COVID because of that first song on the album. But I didn't think the song was that bad, but I guess it was for some odd reason. For some listeners, I don't know. It wasn't a bad song. It still was a pretty solid track for what it went for. So at number 5, I picked Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators, the album 4. Number 6 is Snoop Dogg with BODR. This is his full-length studio album. The last one was The Algorithm I reviewed last year, back in November. And that was a mixtape album, or a compilation album, I think. So, yeah, Snoop Dogg did a decent job on his album. There were some underwhelming tracks on this album, in my personal opinion, but for what it went for, I think it was about decent. So I don't know if I got many songs to discuss about on this album, other than the fact that I wasn't a huge fan of this album. But I think Snoop Dogg didn't do so bad. There were some mumble rappers in this album that I wasn't sure if I was getting behind on, but still, it's decent. So at number 6, I picked Snoop Dogg with BODR. Definitely go check out my album review for that Snoop Dogg album, BODR, and I think you may like it. I gave it a decent rating of a 7 out of 10, so it's going to be on the decent part of this list by the end of the year. At number 7 is Diplo with self-titled album. Now, I found some songs like Right to Left. That song, it actually had a catchy tune. I didn't like On My Mind. That was the only one that kind of got repetitive and went nowhere. Um, High Rise, I think, is what the song's called. I can't remember, but for what it went for, I think this album was pretty decent for some of the stuff it was going for. Forget About Me was actually pretty strong of a track. Don't Forget My Love with Miguel was actually a pretty strong track too. I kind of liked it. I probably did like it. I can't remember. You have to go check out my review for it. I did it a month and a half ago, or almost 2 months ago now. But it was a pretty solid album, fairly decent. So definitely go check out my review for it. It made it at my number 7 spot on the so far list. So at number 7, I picked Diplo with self-titled album. Number 8 is Set It Off with Elsewhere. Now, this was a pretty average album. I was really surprised with them this time around. I didn't think I was gonna find some songs to be about average. I should have gotten a lesser rating, but for what this went for, I wasn't that disappointed with this album. I think it's fairly average. Cordial was a pretty strong song, sort of. I guess it's average at least. The Skeleton song has grown on me a lot more. Projector is average. Not the best song. There's some raps and mumble stuff in it that I don't know if I can get behind with Cody Carson's mumble stuff. And I personally find it to be mumble-ish, but that's just my opinion. Um, but what this went for, it's not a bad listen. It's pretty average. Peekaboo is, I don't know, it's average, but there's some moments with Cody Carson's vocals that's actually pretty strong, but his I guess niece singing in the song, the peekaboo part, I was like cringing at that in my personal opinion, but that's just my opinion. But everything else was pretty strong. Like Better Than This was actually the final song on the album, but it did pretty well for what it went for. So, yeah, this was actually a better album than Midnight in my personal opinion, but that's just my opinion at least. So at number 8, I picked Set It Off with Elsewhere. And also Why Do I was actually a pretty strong song, sort of, I guess. There was another one, Loose Cannon. I kind of like that one too. So I think that's all I'm going to say on that album. Number 9, this is probably going to be the last one I'll mention, then I'll return to you for section 2. Number 9 is Bryan Adams with So Happy It Hurts. The only song I found to be fairly average was On the Road. Wasn't feeling for that song. It just didn't click with me. And certain other songs were pretty solid, but I wouldn't say this is the best executed album. It's an average album, in my opinion, and you can, sorry if I stuttered for a second, and you can definitely go check out my album review for Bryan Adams, So Happy It Hurts. It came out on March 11th, I meant to say. Almost said May for a second. Please forgive me on that. Yeah, Bryan Adams did an average job on his album, in my personal opinion, but that's just me, at least. So if you guys like the album, that's good. More power to you, I guess, but I personally don't find any of the songs to be very good, but it's something. So, at number 9, I picked Bryan Adams with So Happy It Hurts. That's going to be it for this section 1 video. I know it was a pretty lengthy video. It just can only go up to 20 minutes because I'm over 500 subs. And yeah, I'm gonna get ready to end this video. So I hope you enjoyed this section 1 video for Decent to Good Albums of 2022 so far, part 1, section 1 video. I did the best I could to make it as good as possible. I'll have numbers 10 to 22 to do in the next one. Hopefully, if I get around to it, there might be 3 sections, just to let you guys know. So stay safe, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video.